It's a good day to be a bad man, but it's even a better day to listen to the American Adversaries. You better listen. Don't let me come and get you, because it's going to be a blessing to teach you a lesson.
All right, welcome back to the show, folks. Yeah, I just got this from Carl Jackson. Don't forget, he's going to be on local Fox 35 tomorrow morning at 7:10 a.m. Make sure you catch it. He'll be styling and profiling. And he points out that, yeah, there's been several articles, actually, that have revealed that electric car batteries do more damage to the environment than a gas guzzler over several years. It's the manufacturing and then the disposal of those things, right? You want to talk about toxic waste? All right, so we're going to have clean energy, but we're going to produce toxic waste in the process. Oh boy, aren't we doing good? And see, this is the problem, guys like Rick. That it's the market-based solutions in the end that are always the superior solutions.
Plus, Chris, by developing natural gas and our fossil fuels, by the time we can develop where it can be so cheap. And in time, we will get those things down pat. We'll get solar energy. We'll get the rest of it down pat. But in time, right. 30 years from now, whatever.
Right.
But we can keep our pricing so low that we can take care of the poor. And these people living up north, if we go through a few more winters like we just went through, they're going to wish that they were paying $100 instead of $300 for their oil and gas.
And if you go back and you study the history of industrialization, and I believe there was a fellow, I think it was on Mike Gallagher's show the other morning. Mike's been having some great guests lately. If you study industrialization, you will see that it was the advent of fossil fuels that really propelled economic development forward. And I'm not talking about coal as much as I'm talking about oil and natural gas.
Natural gas.
Is that when that hit the economy, thank you, John D. Rockefeller, that the economic boom really astronomically increased. And the production of wealth worldwide was, over the last 100 years, more than the entire human history before that. As a matter of fact, over the last 20 years, we've had more economic development than over the entire human period prior to that.
Isn't it funny seeing Barack Obama try to take claim when he says, "Oh, look at gas prices are down to $2 a gallon." Hey, buddy, you had nothing to do with this. You tried to stop this every way possible. We still, we were so many federal lands that we could drill, be effective, provide bigger supply, flood the markets in the world.
It would take out
cheaper. We could do a lot of damage to our enemies, but of course, you're in the way.
No,
of course.
It would be even cheaper. By the way, there's some things that we wanted to mention we didn't get to, though. First of all, the Defense Appropriations Bill passed with big numbers in both the House and the Senate. Hopefully they will rectify some of what I've been saying for a while, that this sequester seemed like a good deal. I know the Republicans in Congress bragged about it, but they took basically all the meat out of the defense budget, and that was the last place that we could afford to take it out of. Also, the Marines have said that women in combat.
Yeah, can you imagine? We spend money on this, right, Chris? And the Marines finally came to a conclusion after months and months, millions and millions of dollars, that maybe the women in combat roles in certain areas shouldn't be there because they're just not physically capable. Oh, hello? I mean, can you imagine if you spent like $10, $15, $20 million to come up with that conclusion?
Well, I'm sure that the Marines already had the conclusion.
Oh, I'm sure they did too. This just verifies it. But I mean,
right.
And this is just done, as we said, because the left wants to make sure everybody's treated fairly. Well, I could have told you that. We could have saved maybe $25 million and an awful lot of work and maybe I hope we didn't hurt the morale of the forces, both on the men and the women,
right.
Because the women do a good job in the areas that they're adaptable to,
right.
And just disgusting.
Speaking of the morale of the forces, do you suppose that the morale of border agents and customs agents along the border, that their morale would be elevated by this? These are some new guidelines that say, and I quote, "Wherever feasible, officers and agents who conduct a search or are present at a medical examination must be of the same gender, gender identity, or declared gender as the individual being searched." What you want to bet we're going to get a flood of transgender illegal immigrants coming into the United
there'll be a
States.
huge amount of I guarantee you, that might be the way to get away. I'm a transgender. I'm not doing anything until you find me somebody else.
Exactly, right. That's right.
Yeah.
the word will get around.
Another total waste of money.
All right, let's take one more phone call. John, thank you for calling tonight.
Hey, I'm wondering how they justify $500 million to train 5.
Oh, I know. Wasn't that disgusting, John?
Rebels.
Yeah, who are probably just blown to smithereens by the Russians.
Oh, I know. They've been French fried last week.
The Pentagon's making all this big deal. Well, they're not attacking ISIS. They're not attacking. Anybody who's an enemy of Bashar al-Assad is going to get attacked by the Russians. That's why now the Iraqis want the Russians start flying missions in Iraq, because they understand when the Russians fly their jets off with missiles, they'll come back empty. When the Americans fly their jets off with missiles, they come back with missiles. So, anyway, go ahead.
That is exactly the difference. How diametrically opposite we are to what Putin's doing. We do not have a strategy over there.
No.
But what I wanted to talk about was what Rick was talking about with the weather and with the energy.
Yeah.
We are. What Obama is doing is exactly opposite what John L. Casey has been talking about for years,
right?
Especially in that Dark Winter book that he wrote.
Yep.
We're entering into a 206-year solar hibernation. We're going to need every available utility plant to produce enough energy just to keep people warm.
You're right.
And apparently in Europe, there already is an issue with what they're calling heat or eat, where you have these people that basically are just getting by, are having to decide whether they're going to eat or whether they're going to heat their homes.
And
they are buying books. They're going to the used book stores and buying up books to use as fuel in their fireplace.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, and they're going out and they're actually collecting firewood and things. Oh boy, that's better than burning coal in a plant, right? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Do you think we should ship natural gas across to Europe?
What?
Do you think we can make some money? Do you think we could take care of a lot of people? Do you think we could defend ourselves against Russia?
Oh, indeed.
But we won't do it.
But you're absolutely right. We're going to need everything that we can get our hands on, because it's going to get cold. It's going to get powerful cold, and it takes a lot more energy to deal with that than it takes to deal with a heat wave. So we're going to be in dire straits, and you're absolutely right. John L. Casey has been sounding the clarion call for years now that we need to be looking at ways of producing more energy, always of producing more energy, not less ways of producing more energy. So great point, John. Thanks for calling. Appreciate you being out there.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of gender things, Houston, I guess they're in line with the president and his wishes with the border agents, but they have come up with a new proposition, and that is to allow men to use public women's restrooms. As long as now this is the big if.
Okay, here we go. Men
as long as
women's restroom.
As long as they feel like a woman.
I know perverts that did that.
Well, I was just going to say, I think I'm going to fly to Houston and feel like a woman for a while.
Wait a second.
Although I don't know if I really want to know what goes on inside a woman's bathroom, right?
But in all seriousness, how are you going to keep out the perverts and the sex offenders? That's what I'm saying. This is the craziest thing yet. I mean, every peeking Tom pervert in the nation will be, well, I feel like a woman today. What?
Well, that's the same Mayor Parker now who wanted all of the liberal Democrat Mayor Parker who wanted all of the preachers to turn in their sermons written.
Oh, yeah, so they could judge them and everything. Yeah,
exactly right. So,
but I'm serious. Do you know the amount of, actually, I mean, it could be rape, everything in the world. I mean, they're just going to be flooding these things, every pervert there is.
Well, now there you go, spoiling things.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't look at it from the tender side or the left.